Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Watcher TV. It is my great pleasure to have with us today Mr. Umberto Roccatti, Vice President of the Independent European Vape Alliance. Welcome, Mr. Roccatti, and thank you for being with us.
Thank you very much.
We are going to start with one very simple question. Can you explain to us what is the Independent European Vape Alliance advocating for at the EU level?
Well, it's very easy. IEVA is the acronym for Independent European Vape Alliance. It was born because to put together the interest of over 14 national associations. There are national producer associations at every member states level. And we put together, since now, of course, in the last years, the European Parliament starts to create a rule at European level that have an impact for the member states. So the coalition, and I would like to underline that is we are all independent. The words independent, the name is that we are all small and middle enterprises independent from tobacco industry. And the coalition has a very clear target. First of all, explain to institutional stakeholders what is vaping, which are the benefit of the vaping, because this is quite a relatively new industry. Although it's almost 20 years, 15, 20 years that the products are on the market, is still quite new for legislator and institutional stakeholder. And second of all, we really advocate for a proper legislation and especially for the differentiation. We are extremely different from 1,000 point of view from the combustible cigarettes, and we advocate that there is this have an impact in the new directive coming, especially in these new terms, regarding to having a differentiation in everything comes and don't want to put together in the same place combustible tobacco, heated tobacco, and vaping product.
Exactly. That was my next question. We saw also, not in this plenary session, but in the previous one, there was discussion on smoke-free environment, and apparently also during the previous term of the institution, this was a big thing. However, Commission has put forward a proposal for recommendation on the smoke-free environment. And basically the main takeaways there is the extension of the ban, even on the outdoor areas, to products such as heated tobacco and vaping. What do you think about this approach taken by the outgoing Commission, and what do you expect from the new one?
We definitely think that this approach is ideological and counterproductive. First of all, it's stated even in preambles of the recommendation that there is a differentiation of the impact of the harm generated by combustible tobacco, heated tobacco, and vaping. So we really don't understand why the output of the recommendation put everything at the same level. Consider that scientifically, from scientific point of view, there is no second-hand vape, while there is a proven second-hand smoke for combustible cigarette. Moreover, there is definitely no second-hand vape in outdoor environment. So our position is very clear. Of course, in the place where are mostly populated by children or minor age people, like, I don't know, zoo or tent park, school, of course, but also hospital, or it has an absolutely sense. But to equalize the ban in outdoor area where there are adult smokers, this is why it's counterproductive, because this will not in some way give the wrong message that everything has the same damage, while there is a very, very big difference in the harm generated by vaping and combustible cigarettes.
When we talk about the procedure in the European institutions, we basically know that both Parliament and Economic and Social Committee and Committee of the Regions basically should only provide their opinions. While this is for the Economic and Social Committee and Committee of the Regions usual thing, to have Parliament only giving opinion on such an important recommendation with such a huge impact, how would you comment, and what do you expect from these consultations?
First of all, the first thing is strange is that the Commission is even not settled, and this recommendation comes to life with the draft, so there will be a vote in December. I think it was premature. I think it was better if there will be also the feedback from the member states that are definitely not all aligned to the draft of the proposal, because some member states have quite a tough approach on new generation product, but some others recognize the value and the proven track of the diminishing of the smokers thanks to the new generation products. So if an adult smoker that I go to take an aperitif, so I make an Italian example, in outdoor area, and I cannot have a healthier alternative, and the message that comes to me as a consumer is completely wrong.
I mean, many independent studies highlighted basically the difference in terms of characteristics of the emissions between traditional combustible products and products without combustion, such as heated tobacco, such as vaping. I mean, however, despite recognizing these differences, Commission is still constantly, basically in the past few years, and we see it now with this proposal, applying the same rules for all. So there is no any difference anymore among new and old products. What do you expect? Where will we go, and what would be potential impacts of this approach in all institutions? I mean, coming from the Commission to the others.
Let's start from a clear point. Vaping, so the vaporization of any liquid, is at least, and I underline, at least 95% less harmful than combustible cigarettes. This is scientifically proven. It's a study, there are many studies of this, and it was never counterfeit from any other studies that demonstrate something different. So this is a given now, and this is where the legislation should start. Okay. The second point, 91% of smokers can't or don't want to quit smoking. So the failure of the last 30 years approach to the tabagism, that means ideological stop everything. It means it's a sort of paradox of the Superman that can control everything. You know, it's not like this. 91% of the people don't want and can't. So there should be another approach, the risk reduction. Risk reduction is an approach that is super familiar in many other sectors. Why don't we start to apply even now? So we have, from one side, 95% less harmful. 95% less means, on the opposite, that tobacco combustible cigarettes are 19 times more dangerous. We have a product that can really switch and can be a support to health institution, and so this should be the base for every single consideration regarding taxation, legislation, recommendation. This is extremely important, and this is what we advocate and we try to consolidate in the general opinion of all institutional stakeholders.
And also you mentioned earlier that, I mean, basically many different member states have different approach to this. Would it be possible to put everything under the same umbrella on the EU level?
It's very difficult. It's very difficult. We don't see only in the tabagism or in vaping approach. We see in thousands of other sectors. But consider one thing. In example, Sweden. Sweden has already won the fight against tobacco, and only 5% of smoking prevalence. In Europe, we are at 20% of smoking, 23% of smoking prevalence on the population, thanks to risk reduction products like nicotine pouch, in example. It's very difficult, in example, to make a so binding rule, in example, to ban the flavors or on the vaping, or to put a very strict rule at European level. Should be the member state that if they have a problem in their country, they can intervene with tougher regulation. And then I really suggest to all the institutional stakeholders to don't make the mistake. From one side, we have adult smoker, 400,000 death toll every year in European Union. And from other side, we have the necessity of take the minor outside of any inhalation, combustible, heated, vaping, everything. It's not with one rule that you save both things. So it's really possible. So we have really a lot of of respect and approach on how to take the yacht out, or even on the vape. In example, in Italy, to make an example, we have very tough regulation. Every seller must be registered, very tough rule against the seller that sell to people underage. There is a lot of legislation and regulation that probably we need just a little bit more enforcement, not other rules.
Exactly, that was my question. When you mentioned the ideas, how to basically to make a difference between consumers and those who basically legally manage to get the products that are on the market available for certain age of consumers. Do you think that basically the rules should be applied in a better way and that there should be better checks on that rather than coming just up with the new rules?
This is dramatically important. You mentioned a very important point. Consider that having a very different rules around Europe create a parallel market. And the access to online, the problem, in example, there are a lot of serious and companies that sell online product with all the specification and the request of the IDs at the purchasing and even at the delivery. The problem is that there is a lot of sales in social media or application like Telegram, but the enforcement is really too low in this moment. So also any kind of restriction that in these new terms the Commission and the Parliament will come out, the big risk is that they just will fulfill the black market and the crime, rather than have a controlled business with controlled product. Let's not forget that a product to be put in the market in vaping need the 6 months of pre-market delay in order to have test on the chemical composition of the product, test on the emission of the product, and then there is a registration, mostly at national level, on chemical substance. In 17 or 28 countries, there are already consumption tax, a sort of excise. So, and when there is an excise and fiscal stamp, there is a controlled circulation of the product. So it means the market is already very controlled. There is a really high level of guarantee to the consumer. The risk is to give this a big gift to all the crime and the black trade, black market.
I mean, the Commission in the previous mandate and Parliament as well, Parliament had a special committee, and there was the Beating Cancer Plan as a big proposal, which was more also horizontal, let's put it this way. That plan set the goal of having less than 5% of population using tobacco by 2040. This is one of the goals that the previous mandate had in general. But do you think that these same rules fit all are really going to contribute to reaching out to that goal? And why? Where is this approach coming from? I mean, do we have a good example where this similar approach has worked before that is now being applied in the case of tobacco, so that someone can guarantee or have the idea that it's going to work well?
Beating Cancer Plan is really the best example to explain the situation. First of all, in the Beating Cancer Plan is literally stated that vaping can contribute to stop smoking, but we have to protect the children for those flavor of those message marketing that have an impact to them. So in some way it officially recognizes that vaping can be helpful for the population and can make people stop smoking. And this is a very important starting point. I really hope that this message, clearly stated in the BICA, won't be forgotten once we will discuss the TPD3 and the Tobacco Excise Directive. Second of all, the target. Now we are at 23. The last term said that by 2040, so we have 3-4 terms in the middle, need to reach 5%. We really hope that this is not something that the Parliament make this very tough target, difficult to achieve target, but then will be a problem for 3-4 next mandate, and so it's losing around, the mess and the action. What I can guarantee is that this 5% will never be achieved with ideological approach and equalization approach. The only way is to count on risk reduction product, because I repeat again, 91% of the people don't want or can't quit smoking. So where is the solution for those? You can impact on 9% of the smokers. And for the 91% less, which is the other solution? Okay, I can stop, I don't want to stop. Which is the solution? Go to a better alternative. In this case, we really can reach 5%. It's not a member state, but it's worth to mention what happened in UK. It's not a member state anymore.
Yeah.
But the smoking prevalence was 21% 10 years ago. Now they are less than 13%, and the government endorsed vaping. In UK, in the hospital, they give electronic cigarette and vaping product to the poor, to the people that have a problem like BPCO or other obstructive problem at the lung. The government endorsed, and they managed to reduce 10%, 50% of the smoker from 21 to 13.
Yeah.
Other countries, make an example, Italy, the smoking prevalence in the last 10 years is almost the same. So until risk reduction is not going to be a health strategy, also for the health institution, they're not going to achieve any results.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned earlier two very important pieces of legislation which are basically expected. I mean, they were already expected, but delayed, and they are for sure coming with the new term of the EU institution. And those are Tobacco Product Directive and Tobacco Excise Directive. They will be reviewed. There will be basically inputs coming from the Beating Cancer Plan from Becca. I mean, what are your key priorities? You said that basically we stay connected with what was already mentioned, that vaping is like less harming solution. And what are your activities like in order to give the awareness how important it is to apply the same approach which was in Becca in the upcoming legislation?
We have a few but very important points to address to institutional stakeholders regarding those two directives. Let's start from an example from TPD3. TPD3, the center of the debate now is regarding the flavor, but there are also other important points. First of all, in the TPD2, there was not included in the scope the liquid without nicotine. So we as an industry, in terms of responsibility of our industry, we want definitely that liquid without nicotine will be included in the scope. Also, the concentrate flavor will be included in the scope, as well in Tobacco Excise Directive. The point is, the center of the debate is the flavor, and some member states had a flavor ban. The point is, again, if there is a problem with YAF intake in a member state, the member state should solve. But maybe there is another member state that has a problem with adult smoker, and they want flavor are super proven to be extremely powerful in switching from combustible tobacco to the vaping. Also because if this flavor is only tobacco, it reminds to my old combustible cigarettes. While if smokers make a switch to vaping and explore other flavor, it's much more loyal to a much less risk product. This is extremely important. There are hundreds of studies that prove this. So in terms of TPD3, we really advocate regarding to maintain the flavor available, because these are effective. These are effective tools to reduce the smokers' prevalence in Europe. And again, based on a 95% of difference in harm, this is substantial to all the discussion. Just on TPD3, one more remark. We agree that as an industry, we should be the industry, I think the level of responsibility is already very high, but I think that some marketing messages in terms of packaging should be improved. Why? Because it's not a flavor that attracts the children.
Absolutely.
It's an image that attracts the children. So definitely a plain packaging strategy is not going to be worth at all, and it's not going to be fair because of, again, the differentiation of the product from combustible to vaping. But some kind of image places on the packaging, in our opinion, should not be possible to be put in. Rather than because we cannot say that a strawberry flavor is likely from kids rather than a 60-year-old lady. There is no difference in the appreciation of a flavor. It's the message. So we don't want cartoon-like packaging with comics around and strange image. We must be more serious. And this is a piece of responsibility that the industry suggests to institutional stakeholders that can have a very good impact. If we go to tobacco excise directive, there are some critical points. First of all, the impact assessment is based on a study on 2016. And we are in 2024, the world changed quite a lot in this time. Also, the market changed quite a lot. So it's, I'm just afraid that it's going to be tough for every product because the scope will be large, combustible, all the kinds of combustible, heated tobacco and vaping. We don't want to be the sacrificial lamb for some not agreement on the combustible and burn. There are 17 examples of fiscal regulation in member states that can lead to the solution for the Commission. Let's see where it works. Let's see where it didn't work. Okay. It's very clear that for our research that a taxation that exceeds the value of 0.1 euro per milliliter of liquid sold as a floor regulation, because we have different purchasing power around Europe, as a floor regulation will be a damage and creating a lot of black market. So over a certain level, it's going to be just black market, parallel distribution, and dark web, and etc. So being a floor regulation, then every country can, of course, increase and harsher the level of the taxation in his own country. So we suggest this red line in order to make this implementable, but also the governance is important. We do hope that in some way an harmonization is good. It's good for the industry. But the governance, taxation is not only the value of the tax, it's the way the tax is collected. In example, we strongly suggest that there's going to be a fiscal stamp at national level for every product to avoid the parallel business and the black market. And we strongly suggest the Commission to put in the law, in the directive, the fiscal deposit concept. I mean, we cannot, being mostly small medium enterprises, it's very difficult to pay in advance the excise duty to the government. So the fiscal deposit regime works at European level for alcohol, for tobacco already. So they just have in some way to copy and paste the philosophy, but many member states didn't apply that. So we want a taxation that works, because even a low level of taxation, but with a bad governance and bad side implementation, can be also counterproductive.
And when we talk about taxation, would taxation calendars and like very predictive, long-term measures also help to small, medium enterprises?
Yes, helps everybody, but especially small, medium enterprise. That Italy is a case study all around Europe for taxation, because we were among the first market in Europe to have a tax in 2014. So we have 10 years of experience. And now we arrive with the government a very good balance. The point is that every quantic jump in taxation, plus 100%, but even every double-digit growth on year, it creates a black market, it creates a problem for the industry, it creates unemployment at the end of the game. and it is not going to create cash flow for government of the member states. So in Italy, taxation is not flat. There we have an example. Next year, there will be a 6.6% rise. This is digestible from the supply chain, even for a small middle enterprise. There is even planned a 6.3% of rise in 2026. Again, this is suggestible. Let's not start. Many countries don't, many big countries in Europe don't have a taxation like Spain, like France. So if we start with a too much high level that change the consumer price over 30-40%, this is going to be a disaster. And in the game, it's not going to be a cash-in for the government. So let's start from a certain level, and then every government can really place in order to create a path for the next 10 or 15 years in order to have a relevant amount of income.
Thank you very much. We are really looking forward to see how the legislation is looking like, what is going to be inside, when are those two very important pieces of proposals basically coming from the Commission, and how overall BECA is going to be applied and put in place. Thank you very much, Mr. Roccatti, for being with us. I hope to have you here with us sometimes very soon again to discuss good movements in this market, and especially for your independent European Vape Alliance and for your members and consumers. Thank you very much to everyone. It was a pleasure having you with us, and we look forward to having you in the next episode.